I don't care whether it's a restaurant business, a printing business, a stockbroker. You have to go in every day and do the best you can. They forget that it's all about sales. I spend 90% of my time talking about growing sales and 10% saving money.
Welcome to Decision Points. I'm here today with Bob Sambol, owner of Bob's Steak and Shop.
Great to be here.
Welcome, Bob.
Thank
Glad
you.
you're here. So we're here on the just right after Texas OU weekend. So how was the weekend for you?
Well, it traditionally is the biggest week of the year. It starts ramping up a little bit Wednesday, but then Thursday, it really starts to ramp up. And we have a lot of, we've been around 32 years. I founded that restaurant in 1993. And it's become a tradition for some people to come Thursday, some people to come Friday, people to come Saturday. The brunt of it is Friday. But Thursday we have a lot of great people in. Cooper Manning was in this week, and I know Cooper because whenever he did business in Dallas, he would always come to Bob. So that was exciting to have him there and all his UT buddies, and it was great. And then Friday, of course, is the big night. It's our biggest night of the year. If we had more seats, we could do 2,000 dinners.
Wow.
I mean, it really, it's the phone never stops. And that's a great night. You got all the UT people. You got Barry Switzer and the Joe Castiglione, the athletic director from OU, and Brian Bosworth, and all these people coming through, and everybody's in a great mood because the game hasn't been played yet. So they're eating and drinking, and boy, it's fun. But I will tell you, Saturday, the game, because they're both in the SEC now, has changed to 2:30, and I hate it.
Yeah.
I used to love it when it was 11 o'clock because people had a chance to go home, back to their hotel room, shower up, get ready for a nice
Clean
dinner.
up a little bit. Yeah.
Now they come right from the game.
Yeah.
So you got half the people were miserable that they lost, half the people were very happy and drunk that they won, and it's a hard night. Now, when it's all said and done, you look at the numbers and you say, hey, it was worth it for sure.
Yeah.
But the week runs the gambit of feelings and the excitement and let's put it this way, it tests your management ability for sure. But it's always a fun night, a fun week. We look forward to it every year.
So are you closed on Sunday after all that?
We are closed on Sundays.
Anyways.
We've been closed for 32 years on Sunday.
Yeah.
And that all came about because when I first opened, we didn't do very well, and I couldn't afford a manager, and I needed a day off because I was tired.
Of course.
So I decided to close on Sunday, and we've kept it, and it's been a tradition, great for our employees and great for me.
Was there one standout story from this weekend that you can share? Where you're like, wow, that was pretty funny, or that was a train wreck?
Well, you get there's lots of little stories because you get people who notice, Cooper Manning, and notice Switzer, and you notice Brian Bosworth, and they want to take a picture, and then there's the girls who go and hug them, and so it's a lot of little stories. Thank God, nothing major.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So where are you from originally?
I was born and raised in the Bronx in New York.
Okay.
Lived there till I was 14, then moved to New Jersey, went to high school in New Jersey. I was, my dad owned bars and restaurants when I was a kid, and worked 7 days a week. And the only way for me ever to spend any time with him was go to work with him. So when I was 11 years old, my mom dressed me up in a sport jacket, and a little bow tie, and went to work with Dad at his bar in Manhattan. And here I am at the age of 71, still doing it.
That's great. That's great. So what is your earliest memory of working with your dad?
Well, my earliest memories were that we went to his bar, and this is when people drank during the day.
Yeah.
So about 11:30, 12, the bar starts to fill up. And my father was a kind of a bigger-in-life kind of guy, ran his bar, everybody knew him. So, they made a big deal out of me sitting there drinking a Coca-Cola with a bunch of maraschino cherries in it. And I said, you know what? This is cool.
Yeah.
I want to do this. Well, then my father, who sixth grade education, immigrant from Poland, only knew one thing: I'm going to teach this young man how to work hard. And he, go get some ice, go get this, get the mop, get the plunger, whatever it took. So I started working, and taught me how to work hard. And my whole goal then, as a young man, was to make my father happy.
Yeah.
To make my father happy, I'd have to work hard. So That's how I got started.
Pretty simple
A
equation.
very simple equation.
Yeah. So where was the bar in Manhattan?
It was in a hotel. It was called the King Edward. He had 2 bars and 2 hotels. One was the Webster, one was the King Edward. And then in 1964, 65, he decided to get out of Manhattan, and he bought a small restaurant in New Jersey.
And that was what facilitated your move.
Yes. And then he decided when you go to school in New York, the number one most competitive high school in the East Coast is Bronx High School Science. So my father had this illusion that I was going to take the test and get accepted, but I could have told him I wasn't. Didn't make Bronx High School Science, so he decided, let's move to New Jersey, where he bought the restaurant. He commuted for a while from the Bronx, but it would be much easier. So we moved there and went to high school in Parsippany, New Jersey, which is northern New Jersey, and lived there till I was 24.
Okay. And then what?
My mom had gotten ill, and my dad decided to sell his restaurant. Now, I was working for him, so this is in 1977.
And you're 24?
I'm 23 at that time.
And at this point, what are you doing for him?
I'm tending bar and managing, making $100 a day cash, had a brand new car going out every night, living the life, And my dad decided to sell his restaurant and move to Florida so my mom could live out her remaining years in Florida and he could spend time with her. And I said, hey, Dad, what does that mean
about
for
me? Yeah.
He said, well, you're a smart kid. You work hard. Maybe you should go work for other people and see how you do. So I had a friend who was in Miami, and he said, hey, come down, spend some time with me. So I went down to Miami with about $1,000 in my pocket and a brand new car and feeling pretty good about myself. Proceeded to lose that $1,000 at the racetrack that week and needed a job. And went to work at a restaurant on Key Biscayne called the Rusty Pelican, which was owned by a company called Specialty Restaurants. And they had, at that time, probably 60 or 70 restaurants around the country, all theme restaurants. They had 94th Aero Squadron here in Dallas and Baby Doe's Matchless Mind, which used to be by that big famous billboard.
Right.
And so I started, now you got to remember, I was making $100 a day working with my dad. And I got offered a job as a manager trainee at $800 a month. And the manager, and I always remember his, and I'll never forget him, his name was Peter Monton. He scheduled me from 9 in the morning to 11 at night, 7 days a week. And I said, Mr. Monton, when do I get a day off? He said, when you deserve one. Well, 2.5 years later, I was vice president of the company.
There you go.
I just saw an opportunity. Again, my father's foundation he built, working hard, understanding how to take care of customers. That's all my dad knew was, guy comes in to spend his money, you take good care of him so he comes back.
Right.
And so I brought that to this company and they recognized it. And vice president of the company, moved around the country with them, ended up moving to Chicago, living there for 8 years. Left Specialty Restaurants to go to work for Arnie Morton, who started Morton's.
Okay.
Arnie was he had a restaurant in Chicago. For 17 years, Arnie Morton was senior vice president of Playboy. My wife hates when I tell this story. She says, no one knows who Playboy is anymore, Dad, Bob. So you got to, well, he started Playboy clubs with Hugh Hefner.
Okay.
And which was, at that time, a genius idea.
Right.
And so he leaves Playboy. His first restaurant he opens is a restaurant called Arnie's. And then right next door is Morton's, the original Morton's. So I go to work to run Arnie's, but was very involved with Morton's. Well, that Morton's concept really hit me. This very simple, masculine steakhouse. Go down to the basement. You walk downstairs to it, and you hear it, and you see it, and you feel it, and businessmen are standing at the bar drinking big drinks. They have the tray presentation with the food. They were the first ones to do that. First ones to do expensive wines by the glass. Arnie was a genius, and I got exposed to that. So went to work, stayed with Arnie for a while, got lured back to Specialty Restaurants, go back to Florida for a while, get lured into Dick Clark from American Bandstand. Again, my wife says, Bob, no one knows who Dick Clark is. You got to remember. Well, he wants to open a restaurant called Dick Clark's American Bandstand Grill, which he did in Miami. and it was not doing well when he first opened. A friend of him told him about me. I go to meet with Dick. I'm very impressed that Dick Clark wants to meet with me.
Right.
I go to work for Dick for a couple of years. The concept wasn't exactly what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. It was kind of a fast casual kind of deal, middle of the road.
How old were you when you went to work for Dick?
Oh, in the late 30s.
30. Okay. Late 30s.
So I stayed with Dick for a while, and then I had
You developed a reputation at this point as sort of like the guy to bring in to kind of fix things.
Yeah, I was kind of the guy that went in and got his hands dirty and worked and ran your operation for a while. And but I had my best friend was a guy by the name of Jack Jackson, and he had a steakhouse in Port Everglades, Fort Lauderdale, called Burt and Jack's. He was partners with Burt Reynolds, and this restaurant was on the water, facing out all the cruise ships. Men had to wear jackets. Jack had come to visit me at Morton's, kind of copied a lot of things Morton's did. Big steaks, big drinks, big lobster, all the whole deal, and was very successful. Well, him and Bert decided they needed to open another one, and they were told that Dallas was this place to do it. Jack had some mutual friends here. We come to Dallas in 1993. It was Byron Nelson week. And we go to Del Frisco's, the original Del Frisco's, which is where the original Bob's is,
Right.
Lemon and Wycliffe.
Right.
And it's a Tuesday night, and there's a line out the door. Well, I've never seen a line out the door of a high-end steakhouse. We go in and have dinner, meet Dale Wamstead, who's Del Frisco, and we start talking. We had some mutual friends in the meat business. And he says, "What are you guys doing in town?" I said, "Well, we're here to look for a restaurant." He said, "Well, your search has ended. I'm moving to Spring Valley in the Tollway. Buy this from me." Wow. Buy a restaurant with a line out the door? This is too good to be true. Well, him and Jack really didn't hit it off. So I said to Jack, "Hey, you mind if I talk to him?" "No, go ahead." So I start talking to Dale about buying the restaurant.
And this is happening over weeks?
Weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is happening quick.
Yeah.
Because he's leaving there on May 30th, 1993, to open Spring Valley and Tollway. And this is the beginning of May.
Okay. Yeah, so quick.
It's quick.
Yeah.
Well, I finally had to tell him I had no money, which is kind of it's kind of picky, but it is important.
I want to buy your restaurant. There's one little thing I need to tell you.
Yeah, I have no money.
Yeah.
So I said, "But I got an idea. Why don't you and I go partners?" Well, I'm not going to compete with myself. That's crazy. I said, "Well, just think about it. You can still collect rent," because he owned the building then and everything. He comes back to me. He says, "Okay, we'll do it. But here's the deal. I don't want to compete with myself, so you can't have filet, you can't have shrimp, you can't have lobster, and you can't have a baked potato." I said, "Fine, no problem."
Did you even have to think about that,
No,
or you were just
I'm
like,
broke.
no, yeah.
I've got an 88 Taurus with one headlight.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, what's to think? And I'm going with a guy who has a line out the door.
Right.
Well, we opened Bob and Dell's Chop House on July 19th, 1993. We did 60 dinners the first night, and it was downhill after that. It was a disaster. After 6 months, Dale says, "Buy me out or we're closing it up." I said,
Because you were losing money for 6 months.
yeah, he's financing it. I'm making bare minimum.
Yeah.
It's a disaster.
Yeah.
I said, "But I got an idea. Why don't you give me a year to come up with the money, and I'll pay you rent and a fee, and every month I'll keep the fee going." Okay? He said, "Okay." All right, thought about it.
He doesn't have to feed it anymore.
"Yeah, you don't have to feed it anymore. Just give me a chance."
Right.
Okay? So we do that, and on January 1st, 1994, I opened Bob's Steak and Chop House. And it wasn't an immediate success, but it was more successful than Bob and Dell's. And so here we are, and at that time there was Del Frisco's, The Palm, Ruth Chris on Cedar Springs,
Right.
and probably that's about it.
Yeah.
Not as much competition.
Yeah.
Nick and Sam's hadn't opened yet. Al Bernay, he was still, Al was at the Palm, and he was big time competition. So we're inching along.
Were you able to adjust the menu when you opened?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So you could have a full
But
menu.
I always wanted to do. I didn't want an a la carte restaurant. I wanted a potato. So potato and what became our signature carrot came along with the meal, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So we're doing enough to keep us open.
January 1, 1994.
And we're moving along.
Yep.
Well, Jimmy Johnson leaves the Cowboys. Barry Switzer gets hired as the Cowboy coach. Barry, on his first night in town, comes to Bob's. And he was introduced to me by Steve Hatchell, who was the Big 12 commissioner at the time. And me and him sit at the bar at 1:30 in the morning and get to be friends. Well, he starts eating in my restaurant 3-4 nights a week. But the one thing he did was, every time he did an interview after practice, he'd say to the guys, "Okay, guys, we got to wrap it up. I got to go have dinner in my favorite restaurant, Bob's Steak and Chop House." And all of a sudden, people started to hear about us.
Was this 19? I can't remember the exact timeline. Was this 94?
95,
Okay.
that whole time after they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Jimmy, that whole thing with Jimmy and Jerry.
Yeah.
Well, Barry started, and all of a sudden people started to notice me, and we started to get better.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And Barry's still a great friend, and I just...
Clearly, he was there the other night.
Yeah, I mean, no,
great.
he had his 70th birthday, 80th birthday, he's just 85th birthday. He celebrates everything at Bob's. So we started to get notoriety, and we started to get acclaim. And then we started to get better and better and better.
Can I stop you for 1 second? So go back to the night with Barry at the bar till 1:30.
Okay. Well, Steve Hatchell, who was the Southwest Conference commissioner, later became the Big 12 commissioner, first Big 12 commissioner. Him and I knew each other from Florida. So we've known it way back. So when Barry comes to town, he doesn't know very many people, but he knew Steve because of his years at Oklahoma, and Steve was the executive director at Orange Bowl, and they had a lot of history.
Steve was living in Dallas.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Big 12 headquarters were here. Southwest Conference headquarters was here. So he brings Barry in. And, I'm a sports fan. I wasn't an Oklahoma fan.
Right.
Actually, I hated Oklahoma because of the wishbone.
Right.
I wanted them to throw, and they would just keep running and beat you that way. So it bothered me. And we just hit it off. Where at the point when he was coach of the Cowboys, I was on the sideline for every game.
Yeah.
I had a sideline pass.
That's awesome.
And they actually changed the rules in the NFL, and they call it the Barry Switzer rule, because he would invite all his buddies to be on the sidelines, a bunch of bar guys, and
Yeah.
and they had to change the rules. You can only have so many people on the sidelines.
So when you're sitting there with him late night, just the two of you guys, having drinks, whatever, and what's going through your mind?
Well, we really didn't talk football a whole lot.
Yeah.
I'm not a football expert. Obviously didn't play football. And we just talked about life, and he started telling me about his life. And I said, "Is it true you were lying on your couch when Jerry called?" "Yeah, God damn it, it was true." I'm sitting there, my daughter Kathy answers the phone. She goes, "Hey, Jerry Jones is on the phone. What's he want? He wants to talk to you." It was true.
Yeah.
Those stories were true.
Yeah.
And, we and he would come in at night, and sometimes he'd have someone with him, sometimes he wouldn't. And he would just tell me how practice is going and how things are going and what surprised him about being in the pros and all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, he had a lot of friends from Oklahoma who came to visit him. And, of course, they all celebrated at Bob's, and we had some just unbelievable nights. And he was great friends with Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
So Jerry became a good customer also because of Barry.
Right.
And, sit there with those two guys and hear those stories. I mean, half of them I can't repeat, but
Of course.
they were just amazing.
Yeah.
So it was a difference maker.
All right. So that's when it started to build, because he would close every interview with,
Yeah.
"All right, I got to go have dinner at Bob's."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then around the year 2000, 2001, D Magazine Nancy Nichols, food writer for D Magazine, decides to do the best steakhouse in Dallas. And at that time, she felt there was 17 reputable steakhouses, and she was going to go in and eat the same exact thing in every one and rate them. Well, D Magazine cover, top chops, there's my picture. She voted me #1 steakhouse. And I didn't know Nancy. It wasn't anything. Everybody thought I paid her off or something, but it was
Truly legitimate.
It was truly legitimate.
Yeah.
We didn't know each other.
Yeah.
I didn't even know when she was in the night that she came in. And that was the big jump. Phil Romano wanted to sue me. Dale Wamstead wanted to sue me.
Why they wanted to sue you?
Because they thought I paid them off.
Okay.
It had to be fixed.
Yeah.
How can they pick Bob's to be the best steakhouse in Dallas?
Right. Right.
And so that was what really started to push it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it went really good for a while.
Okay, so in that moment, what do you think was the kind of the secret sauce or the secret formula that caused her to rate you guys number one? Was it the service? Was it the food?
Well,
was it
all of the
above?
I think the first thing was, I think she felt it when she walked in, which steakhouses, you have to feel it when you walk in. You have to walk in and all of a sudden you hear it, you see it, you smell it, and you go, wow, I'm in the right spot, right? You just feel that energy. I always want people to walk in and immediately be by the bar because that's where all the energy is.
Right.
Or you hope that's where all the energy is. So I think right away she was hit with that. I do think our steaks are the best. I think we simply cook it. We buy the best meat possible. We are. We never try to be anything different. And all we strive for is you to be in our rotation. That when you want the Bob's experience, you come to Bob's.
Right.
You want something else? Hey.
You want Mexican food?
Go to Javier's, go to Mi Casina, go to, Dallas, we have a very close-knit group of restaurateurs. We're all friends. Al Bonet was a great friend. Samir, the chef, and Nick and Sam's one of my best friends. All these guys, we're all buddies. We all actually have lunch together once a month. We have a group, we all get together. So
is that with Salim?
Yes.
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 Yeah, we've had Salim on the podcast.
Oh, my God. He's the best. Let me just tell you one quick story about Salim. When I first met Salim, I said, who is this guy? He's like the greatest guy I ever met. David Campisi said to me the greatest quote. He said, your life will be better now that Salim Azawi is your friend.
That's great.
So you're gonna have a good interview with Salim.
That's true. Yeah.
So she comes in, she does it, we get rated, it kind of takes us off. I think the reason was our food was great. It still is. It is what it is. There's no surprises. We stick to who we are, and I think people respect that, and especially the people that can afford to eat in our restaurant. Everybody says, all these steakhouses, all these new steakhouses are coming to town. Well, our business is still growing. We're doing better this year than we did last year, better than the year before. And I think the reason is the customer, our customer knows what they want, and they come to Bob's because they know they're going to get it. Okay? And I think a lot of times these out-of-towners or these people who come to town, they don't really understand this market. Jack Nicklaus, the golfer, had the best saying. It pertained to golf for him, but it pertains to every business. They asked him, Jack, how'd you win so many tournaments? He said, well, I only had to beat half the guys. I said, what do you mean? The other half beat themselves. So I feel the same way about restaurants.
Yeah.
I mean, you spent $18 million to build a restaurant? How do you expect to get that back?
Right.
Well, the only way to get it back is to overcharge customers.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how you get $18 million back.
Yeah.
And they're smart. I'm not saying I'm smarter than anybody else. I think I'm stupider than anybody else, and I'm stubborn. And when I was struggling at Bob's, when you're struggling, everybody's got a suggestion for you.
That's right.
Oh, you got to have pasta on the menu, and you got to have live Maine lobster on the menu. The best one was Larry North, the trainer.
We know Larry. Yeah.
Okay, Larry was the top of his game at that time.
Right.
His mom comes in. She's like one of 3 tables. Well, you know why you're not busy, right? You don't have a Larry North plate. I said, who's Larry North? Well, that's my son. He's the number 1 trainer of physical trainer in Dallas. I've never heard of him. I don't know. And so I mean, just think about that. I always remind Larry of that story about his mom telling me that I wasn't going to be successful because I didn't have a Larry North plate. But that's what, when you're struggling in a business, it's a test to your strength. It's a test to your intelligence. It's a test to everything. And I think one of the things that helped me was I knew what I knew, and I didn't know anything else. I'm not a trained chef.
Right.
I'm a trained restaurant operator. And again, I go back to my father.
Yeah.
He taught me how to work hard. He taught me how to take care of customers. I went to work for a large company, publicly held company, where that is even more important because you got a bunch of corporate guys telling you you're spending too much on your forks or you're spending too much on your linen. Well, you know what I preach? Sales.
Right.
When I get a resume of a manager and he tells me I cut food costs, I cut payroll, I cut controllables, I said, did you ever grow sales?
Yeah.
Because without sales, there's nothing but misery.
That's right.
So all I worry about is that.
Growth in sales solves a lot of problems.
Oh, my God. I'm a genius.
Yeah.
I was a genius Friday night.
Yeah.
Okay? Right? Wasn't so smart last night, but I was a genius Friday night. And I spend 90% of my time talking about growing sales and 10% saving money.
That's a great message.
Don't save me money, make me money.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And that's the biggest mistake that restaurateurs and any business makes.
Of course.
They forget that it's all about sales.
So let me ask you a question. In the middle of the most difficult phase of this, so when would you say that was? Was that late 94 before things with Barry started?
When I first, it took, one thing I left out was it took me 11 months to find a partner.
Yeah.
A guy by the name of Bill Lennox,
Okay.
who was a great guy. He passed away, unfortunately, and I loved him dearly. And I didn't learn how to love him till after. Unfortunately, I wasn't a great partner. He was a great partner. And so it took me a while to get a partner. So it was always a test. It was always hard. It was always hard. I was always kind of a little bit behind the eight ball. But my nature is I'm a gambler. I'm a risk taker, and I get excited by taking risks. And I think entrepreneurs, if they don't love the action, they're not gonna
make it.
You're not gonna make it.
That's right.
When the documentary came out about Jerry, the title was The Gambler. Well, Jerry doesn't go bet $50,000 at the craps table. We're talking about Boone Pickens, one of my great customers and friends, great friend to me. His best friend told me Boone was the biggest gambler he ever met, and Boone never played a hand of cards in his life. You know what I mean? It's just you have to have that mentality. You see it in your business.
Yeah.
Some guys aren't built for it.
That's right. So when you were in these difficult phases of the business, there's clearly a work hard ethic that your dad instilled, all the way from when you were 11 years old and you put on the bow tie and the jacket the very first time. But was there also just like, I know what I know and I know this is right and I've just got to hang in there until it clicks?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Tell me about that. Just sort of that innate sense that was in there.
It was always that the worst moments where you open up at 5 o'clock, you get a couple of tables right away and you say, oh, baby,
Okay, here we go.
got it tonight. We got it tonight. And then those 2 tables would finish and no one else came. We had some nights we did 11 dinners.
Yeah.
2 nights we did 11 dinners, 21 dinners. And at the end of the night, you get pretty damn depressed. And then, but you get up in the morning and you swear that's your day.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, great story about Dale Wamstead, Del Frisco, who's still a great friend. Unfortunately, his health isn't great right now. And I just pray for him every day. He used to call me every night. How'd you do tonight? 40. Really? Everybody happy? I said, yeah, they were. He said, great. Maybe you'll do 41 tomorrow. And he'd hang up the phone. That's all you can do.
Right.
Even to this day, when we have a not so busy night, the main job for me and my staff, my managers, is to go around and make sure everybody knows, hey, we only have 100 reservations tonight, but let's make those 100 people happy.
Right.
Don't walk, oh, we only got 100 tonight. Oh, I'm not going to make any money.
Right.
Yes, you can make a lot of money at Bob's, with just waiting on 1 or 2 or 3 tables, you know, but you can't have that attitude. So I don't care whether it's a restaurant business, a printing business, a stockbroker, I don't care what it is. You have to go in every day and do the best you can and hope tomorrow will be better.
Well, going back to your point about a gambler, you know, and Jerry being a gambler, Boone Pickens being a gambler, entrepreneurs being a gambler, it doesn't, and, you know, some might say, well, you were a gambler, right?
I was, and it was my downfall.
But it doesn't feel like gambling when you have this sort of innate, like, you know, it's right. And you'd had enough experience up to 1994 to know what right felt like in the restaurant business.
Well, there's right and there's really right.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't want a job.
Yeah.
I didn't want to make $100,000 a year. I wanted to make $100 million a year.
Yeah.
And sometimes that desire can be detrimental.
That's right.
I was never satisfied with what I was doing. I wanted to do more. And I've always been like that. And it can be a terrible, bad habit of never being happy. So you drive yourself to the point and you realize, what am I doing? So it's tough. It's tough when you have that. It gets you to a certain point. You know, I was often told, your management style can take you to a certain point, and if you don't adjust, that same management style is going to take you down. So
what got you here won't get you there.
Right, exactly. And so that's a tough one. I think today I'm a better version of myself. I'm 71 years old, just became a grandfather. It's a different outlook on life, but I've never been more motivated to make my business successful. You know, it's tough out there. It's tough out there. It's not for everybody. Having your own restaurant isn't. I go to speak now at schools, hospitality schools, entrepreneurial schools. I just came back from Oklahoma State and Arkansas a few weeks ago. And I always tell the kids, this isn't for everybody.
Right.
Half of you aren't going to be here next year.
Right.
You're going to realize, I want to do that. That's crazy.
Right.
My 3 sons, none of them are in my business. They saw how hard I worked. They saw the toll it took on me and my family, and they said, I want to do that.
So what's next then? You're 71. The business is incredible. You've built a phenomenal business, a phenomenal brand.
Well, you know, I sold the brand to Omni Hotels.
Okay.
And so I own Bob's on Lemon with a partner by the name of Dave Johnson, great guy, hotel guy. And I'm very involved with the new Dave and a bunch of partners invested in the new Bob's in McKinney. And then been talking with Omni about me getting back involved with the brand and things like that, but that hasn't taken place yet. Would love to do that because it's, you know, no one knows the Bob's brand better than I do. No one can represent it better than Bob. So I want to do that. And I love speaking to kids. I love talking to young people, young entrepreneurs, young restaurateurs. I've been asked to be on the advisory board of the Oklahoma State Hospitality School. I would love to do that. What I love about their school is it's connected to the business school. So there's 2 parts of our business. There's the restaurant business, and then there's the business of the restaurant. And believe me, you better know both. The greatest lesson I ever learned was when I worked for my dad and we had a slow week, I didn't get paid on Friday. I used to get my pay from my dad on Friday. He paid me cash in those days because no credit cards. And I said, hey, I get my pay? He says, why don't we wait till tomorrow night? We didn't have a very good week. Let's see how we do tomorrow. Can you imagine doing that now? Me telling my manager, hey guys, the paychecks didn't come through today.
Let's try again tomorrow.
Hopefully we'll have a good night tomorrow. Now, you know, back in the old days when I was stressing out about making payroll, I did some wacky things to get that. I knew I had to do $10,000 in business by Thursday to make payroll. Now, we didn't have very many people working for us. We had me, my one bartender, 3 or 4 guys in the kitchen, no hostess, no busboys, 3 or 4 waiters. So, you know,
Lean and mean.
I came up with a lot of excuses kited a few checks in those days. The old days when you can kite a check. So it was good. But I was lucky because I also preach loyalty. Loyalty to your customers, loyalty to your employees, and loyalty to your vendors. So my meat vendor, who I've been with for over 40 years, who I've been with before I opened Bob's, I couldn't pay my meat bill. Stockyards Packing in Chicago, and now owned by U.S. Foods. I'm the longest running customer. And they've been in business over 100 years.
Wow.
The owner of the company, Tom, was a guy by the name of Harry Katz. And I had to call Harry and tell him I couldn't pay. And he looked and saw what I owed him, which wasn't to him a lot of money, but to me it was. And he said, Bob, wherever you've been, you've bought meat from us. You open your own restaurant, you're struggling a little bit. If we can't stick with a guy like you, who are we going to stick with? What's the sense of being loyal to a meat company? So he stuck with me.
Yeah.
American Produce, Lucien LaBarba, Carl LaBarba, that family. Bought produce from him, couldn't pay my produce bill. I met with Lucien and Carl, and they said, you know what? We drive by here every day, and your car's always out there. You're working as hard as you can. We got you, pal. So you gotta have loyalty.
Yeah.
You gotta have loyalty, especially in my end of the business, the high end business. You buy the best product. You get a fair price. You pay your bills. Cross it off your list, and get your ass in the dining room and worry about other things.
Right.
Stop trying to find something that's a quarter or a dime cheaper.
Right.
It's not. It's when you think about it, it doesn't matter. What matters is how you produce in your restaurant. That's what our customers react to. That's why you come in. That's why you and your friends come in. That's why probably three. I'm not sure how many. Maybe 300 people have my phone number, and they text me or call me for reservations. Do you know I never tell them no?
Yeah.
You know why? I'm afraid they're going to call Nick and Sam's or Al Bernays or Pappas Brothers if I tell them no. But if it's crazy busy, what I'll tell them is, hey, come on in, have a drink, I'll get you down as soon as possible. I buy them their drink.
Perfect.
Get them down. They're happy.
Perfect.
We had a customer Friday night, very good customer, calls me up at 5 o'clock on Friday. Bob.
Busiest night of the year.
Busiest night of the year. Bob, you're going to kill me. I apologize. You can hang up on me if you want. I thought I called you to make the reservation. I realized I didn't.
It's on me.
It's on me.
Yeah.
Can you take 4 of us? I said, how about 8:15? Oh, thank you. He gets to the restaurant. His wife comes up to me, hugs me, and apologizes. I said, don't apologize. If I can't you eat in this restaurant 30 times a year. If I can't take care of you on a busy night, what's the sense of coming here? I appreciate you. Thank you for calling me and not saying, hey, I'm not going to bother Bob. I'm going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
My father said, if you get what you wish for, you better take care of it.
Yeah.
So every one of those customers is important.
It's amazing. So let's talk a little bit about, so you sold the Bob's brand to Omni. You still own the restaurant at Lemon.
No, I sold all the freestanding lemons. All the freestanding Bob's were owned by individuals.
Okay.
So I sold it.
Okay.
I sold it, and
so what do you still own?
The Lemon Avenue,
Okay.
and I help manage the McKinney location.
Okay. So the reason I'm asking the question or prompting the question is a lot of times when you get to a certain age, you're ready to move on to other things. And you mentioned earlier you've got your first grandchild, and so, life is continuing to evolve. But is it fair to say that you've essentially cashed out from an economic perspective?
No, I didn't cash out. I cashed out of necessity. I screwed up, got myself in trouble financially, did some stupid things.
Okay.
And I needed to leave. Made some terrible, terrible mistakes. Sold the original Bob's. Well, for me, I sold it to people. It was doing $6 million. They took it down to $4 million. On March of 2019, they called me up and said, "You want to buy it back?" I bought it back. Got it back up to $8 million, and here I am.
Okay, perfect.
6 years later.
Perfect.
But it was because of my stupidity and dumb things I did that I lost it.
You needed to sell it.
I needed to sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What'd you learn from that?
That I'm not always in control. I have some demons
We all do.
That get the best of me. Mine are public now. Been public since then. So you learn a lot by that. You learn who your friends are. I always say that a third of the people love you, a third of the people don't really care, and a third of the people don't like you because of what they heard. Well, don't worry about the 2/3. Just worry about the third that loves you. And so worked my way back, and proud of it, but wasted a lot of time and money for sure. But you know what? I wouldn't have got where I got to if I wasn't a risk taker and a gambler, because no one would have done what I did to take that kind of risk. Because I was married with 2 or 3 kids at the time.
Right.
My wife, my first wife, who was a great wife, also messed that up. What are you doing? I said, don't worry, I got this.
Famous last words, right?
Don't worry, I got this. Yeah. But I love, still do love the action. I can't picture myself not having, I don't go in every day. I don't work as much as I used to, but I can't imagine not being there when I want to be there.
Yeah.
I don't want to work. I want to work less, but I don't want to stop working.
Right.
I can't imagine not having Bob's to go to when I want to.
Your dad sold his restaurant in New Jersey, moved your mom and your dad.
Florida.
They went to Florida. And then was he retired from that point forward?
Yeah.
And what age was he when he retired?
Probably close to 75,
Okay.
78.
So a little bit older than you even now.
Yeah, but he didn't take good care of himself, so I smoked 3 packs of Luckies.
Yeah.
Ate about this much butter on everything, but still lived to be 87.
Yeah.
Did get to see me successful. Got to visit Bob's. He lived in a different world. He lived in the cash world. Didn't understand why I didn't have a whole load of money to take out of the cash register at the end of the night.
Yeah.
I can tell you great stories about him and the cash he had in his business and how he ran his business. But he worked hard, and listen, our business, the restaurant business, it's difficult, and it's especially difficult if you go into it and you don't really know who you want to be. If you do, you got to just stick to it and take it like a man or a lady and say, I was wrong. Or you're going to be right. I mean, look at all these restaurants, and they're not all going to stay in business.
That's right.
I have a young man I know. He's a chef, a successful chef. He's failed 3 times because he doesn't know the business part of it.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah. Back to what you said earlier about knowing the business.
Knowing the business part of it.
Yeah.
And, isn't it unbelievable how, especially in Dallas, they'll name a restaurant and they go, why is that place so busy? I don't understand it. I don't like that place. Well, if you look at the top 10, D Magazine's 10 best new restaurants every year, 3 years later, 70% of them are out of business.
Right.
Because I had a friend of mine who was asked to invest in a restaurant. And he said, hey, first of all, anybody tells me that, I tell them don't do it. Because they're going to lose their money for half the time at least.
Yeah.
So he shows me the original menu, and it had rabbit on the menu. And I said, okay, let me ask you something. How many times has you and your wife said, honey, I'm going to move some rabbit tonight. Let's go out and have dinner. So on the initial menu, he has rabbit. So he's going to throw that rabbit in the garbage. Phil Romano taught me a great lesson. 80% of your menu is what you know people want. 20% is what you think they want. And as soon as you open, they'll tell you.
Yeah.
But don't walk in there with 80% of what you think they want.
Right.
Give the people what they want. Then you go from there.
Some other stuff.
One of the things I always say to the kids I talk to at college, I go around the room, we have Q&A, and you'll always see a kid in a chef coat. He obviously wants to be a chef. And I said, Chef, what's your goal? He said, I want to open a restaurant and win a Michelin star. I said, you know what my goal is? I want to win an award from the bank for most deposits because then I can do whatever I want.
Right.
So just remember, when you get that restaurant, make money, and then you can do whatever you want. Now, if you win a Michelin star along the way, that's fine. But don't ever lose sight of making money, because that'll keep you in business.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I want to ask you, so much of Bob's is Bob, right?
Yeah.
Javier's Javier, right? Like we have these iconic...
we all miss Al terribly.
Yes, we have these personalities. So if you think about the brand and you think about I've had dinner there a couple times in the last few months, and I walk in and you're there, and that's part of the experience.
Yeah.
So how do you think about this business after you, as you slow down, as you take more time to do other things?
I try to hire people that understand why we're successful, and maybe will accept the torch that I pass. Mm-hmm. Don't be me. Be yourself.
That's right.
But be that person that remembers their name. Be that person that greets them at the door. Mm-hmm. Be that person that remembers something about them. Mm-hmm. It's always a challenge for us on how to take care of people better.
Right.
Okay? Everybody does it kind of the same way. Well, how do we do it better? Well, we do it better by understanding who our customer is. He's usually a person who can afford to eat at any restaurant in town. Mm-hmm. So they're a little more demanding. Mm-hmm. They're not going to write a letter. They're just not going to come back.
Right.
So you have to figure that out. But now, I can be beating my head against the wall, and that person's never going to be that person.
Right.
Because they're never going to be willing to sacrifice the part of their life to be that. Boone Pickens told me something really, really I took to heart. Boone had an incredibly successful life as a businessman, but he had married 5 times and had some really painful relationships with his kids. And he told me, Bob, when a man decides how to be successful, he has to decide how much of his life he wants to sacrifice to get there, how much money he wants to make, how many businesses he wants to own, because you can't do it all. So I sacrificed my married life and my relationship with my kids, and I regret it. Don't get me wrong, but it's what I chose. I chose to do that. No one forced me to do that. So you got to find that person who's willing to sacrifice a little bit. I have some people that fit that mold a little bit. Are they as crazy and as me? I haven't met too many people that are as crazy as me, but Javier is, Al was. Samir, Nick, and Sam's is. There's lots of guys in town that are really, really, Pasha and his brother at Las Palmas, they're dedicated restaurateurs. There's lots of guys in town or people that I know that are, when you go around to the restaurants all around the country that are successful, there is a Bob and there's an Al, and and it kind of fits who we are. It kind of fits who we are. So it's lots of little parts, but first, good food, good service. You can never forget that. We have a lot of servers that have been there a long time, and have waited on people for 20, 25, 30 years. And I said, don't ever think they're coming to see you, because the day you give them a bad steak and don't come back with their drink quick enough, they ain't coming to see you.
Right.
Then I don't want to hear the cute stories about your dog or your daughter and all that. They're not coming back. So don't ever think they're coming to see you. Now, they enjoy you waiting on them because you know all the things they like. But as soon as we stop delivering that steak and you stop delivering that drink on time, they ain't coming back.
Yeah, good stuff. Any parting thoughts? We got an audience of business owners and entrepreneurs sitting out here, and if you had like one thing that you would say to sort of help them out.
My advice from my father when I told him I was opening my own restaurant, he says, great, don't run out of money. I mean, I don't know how to make it.
Simple as that.
I don't know how to make it more so. The other thing is, follow your passion.
Yeah.
If you don't have a passion for it, you're not going to be successful.
That's right.
Whether you're a professional golfer or you're a restaurateur or a stockbroker or a money manager, whatever it is, if you don't have a passion for it, what a miserable life you're going to lead. It really is.
Because you got to do the work.
You got to do the work. And so why don't you find something you have a passion for?
Yeah.
And then be your best at it.
And then go for it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.